Welcome to the HPV World podcast. Today, we are going to listen to the article, The Even Faster Concept for Cervical Cancer Elimination, written by Joakim Dillner, Miriam Elfstrom, and Iacopo Bausano. This article is available on our webpage, www.hpvworld.com, where you can also consult the graphics and images which support the content. Are you ready? Let's begin. The FASTER concept consists of offering concomitant screening and HPV vaccination to maximize the combined impact of both measures. When the FASTER strategy is used, women who are HPV negative at vaccination can have more infrequent screening because of their very low risk, thus greatly reducing the need for screening. We present a slightly modified concept, the even faster, that is specifically aimed at accelerating cervical cancer elimination. The concept is based on, first, using the HPV reproductive rate or related measures to determine the optimal age groups to be targeted by a faster vaccine and screen campaign, and secondly, using targeted screening campaigns rather than programs requiring long-term infrastructures. We suggest that the optimal maximum age for HPV vaccination should first be defined by accounting for the contribution of each age group to the circulation of HPV infection in the population. This can be done considering specific, well-established epidemiological metrics, such as the basic reproductive number, or R0. The R0 is a measure of the potential for spreading an infection in a specific population, and if it is less than 1, the infection will eventually fade out. Importantly, the R0 is determined by context-specific contact patterns, such as sexual behavior, which in turn are regulated by local social norms. As an example, in Sweden, sexual contact rates are highly age-dependent, and consequently, the R0 generated above 30 years of age is low. Figure 1, available at our website, illustrates the HPV-16 age-specific basic reproductive number among unvaccinated women as estimated using a population-based, single-type HPV transmission model fitted to Swedish data. An examination of the basic reproductive number plot, as shown in Figure 1, suggests that the infection would be rapidly eliminated from the population if the age groups below 30 years of age could not transmit HPV infections. Birth cohorts aged 11 to 21 have been targeted by the high-coverage school-based vaccination program that started in 2012, and it thus seems that it is mainly the age groups 22 to 30 that are maintaining the circulation of HPV infection in the population. Targeting the birth cohorts capable of generating an R0 of over 1 in a one-time extended catch-up HPV vaccination campaign is readily doable. For example, the currently ongoing COVID-19 vaccination campaigns have already reached 28% of the population of the world, with 4 billion doses given, at 34 million doses per day, according to information published at www.ourworldindata.org. In Sweden, an HPV elimination campaign could theoretically be completed in about 4 weeks, if vaccinations were performed at the same rate as in the COVID-19 vaccination campaign. The COVID pandemic has reminded us of the importance of monitoring the effective reproductive number for infection control, as most countries have systematically measured the effective reproductive number and adjusted control policies accordingly. An example of how an epidemic can develop is given below. When SARS-CoV-2 entered Stockholm, Sweden, it was estimated to have a basic reproductive number of 2.5 and spread rapidly. Just a few weeks later, the effective reproductive number was below 1, and the first wave of the epidemic faded out. Figure 2, available at our website, shows the first wave of the COVID-19 epidemic in Stockholm in the period between March and July 2020, using a graph from the Swedish National Public Health Agency website. HPV is also a potentially lethal infection, for which effective tools to reduce the basic reproductive number to an effective reproductive number below 1 exist, such as vaccines. In some settings, it may not be possible to assess the basic reproductive number. The incidence is directly dependent on R0, and if R0 is not available, the incidence can be used instead. If incidence is also not available, prevalence can also be used as a proxy, as the prevalence will peak shortly after the incidence. Figure 3, available at our website, shows the age distribution of incidence and prevalence of HPV in Finland before HPV vaccinations started. There is a common misconception that the effect of screening would have an associated time component, and that the benefits would only be measurable after a lag time, dependent on the natural history of the disease. However, if an entire population was screened and treated on a single day, the full effect of the screening would already be realized the next day. In a setting where HPV is no longer circulating, the next task will be to detect and treat all cervical cancer precursors that HPV induced at the time it was still circulating, a so-called close-out screening campaign. The biology of HPV infection will simplify this task in several ways. First, in the age groups targeted by the faster Vaccinate and Screen campaign, the negative women do not need to be targeted. Secondly, the rapid spontaneous clearance rates of HPV will result in that most transient infections will have disappeared in half a year, leaving mostly persistent infections, and thus greatly improving the positive predictive value of HPV-based screening. And finally, the incubation time from an HPV infection to development of a high-grade squamous epithelial lesion is short, about 2 years, resulting in that shortly after the infection is no longer spread, most HPV infections will either have cleared or progressed to a high-grade squamous epithelial lesion that can be detected and treated, further increasing the positive predictive value. As it is a screening campaign, the cost of implementing it will be much less than if a semi-permanent screening infrastructure were to be built. The entire female population will need to be targeted, but the planning of such an effort is greatly facilitated if the screening is performed as a campaign. Thank you for listening. To read this article, check out the link in the description of this podcast. You can find additional contributions in related topics on our webpage. Access to our online library is free, and you can subscribe to receive our fortnightly newsletter. This project is endorsed by the International Papillomavirus Society and other relevant bodies, and was created thanks to unrestricted educational grants and contributions from stakeholders in the field. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye for now.